I would like to show you how to create a Schoolnet test in math and show you a few extra things that I've learned along the way that may help you with the appearance and display of the test. So here I'm on the home page of Schoolnet, and I'm going to click on the check mark here for assessments. I'm going to go to the drop down. And here I can find a test. If I have the test ID number, I can find one here. Here I can click on Find Items. So first I would suggest selecting your test banks. At this point in time, until further notice, I would avoid the 1316 Schoolnet items. These are hard to show up sometimes. They might be better later on. But if you have problems with viewing the test items, these are locked up for now. You can click the Certica. I don't know what other ones that you have available, but I'm going to choose the ones that have to do with math. Then you're going to click a subject and scroll through until you get to mathematics, then click off. So right now we're seeing all the math questions. There's over 40,000 from those four banks. I'm going to do a Math 3 test right now, so that could be for 10th graders or 11th graders. The grade level is really not totally important, but here's where I want to select my standards. So again, remember I said I'm going to make a Math 3 test, and I'm actually making a review in Math 3 for Standard G, Objective GPE, all of the GPEs. So first I'm going to look into Math 3, and I'm going to click the arrow to give me all of those subsets. And I wanted to look in G, and then I wanted to look in GPE. That's the only questions I'm including on this one. So when I open it up, sometimes I get more drop downs. So notice I have one drop down here, and luckily there's only one. So it's going to add it over here to my search. There's 47 questions that I'm going to get to choose from. Some of these, when you click on it, it has more than one. See, this one has one, and then this one has one, so on and so forth. So I would just keep doing my drop downs until I see all the objectives that I want to include. But again, this one's only a GPE, so I'm going to save. So now it's pulled up 47 items on GPE. So I'm going to pick about 10. I'm just going to pick some random questions. Looks like this one has a circle graph on it. This one has a radical. I'm just picking some different ones. You can be more strategic. Notice down here it tells me how many I've chosen so far. So far I have 4 questions. Okay. It was another graph. I'm sorry. I don't have 4 questions. I have, it's 4 filters. I have 8 items selected so far. 9 now. And just trying to make sure I get several different kinds there. So 10 items selected, and I'm going over here to the right to item actions and add to a test. Now here, if I already had an existing test, I could add it to that one, but I'm creating a new one, so I'm going to click this create new test with these items. So I'm adding those 10 items from GPE into a test. This sometimes takes a second. So now I'm going to give my test a name, Math 3 GPE Review. A subject, I'm choosing math. Grade level, this will be 10th to 11th graders because sometimes we have 10th graders and sometimes we have 11th graders in Math 3. And again, the grade level it's not going to lock it for any specific student. So from our document, it's a math document. So here's the next thing that you're going to look at. The test category is if you pick school, that means anyone in your school could give that test if they had the ID number. If you pick shared, that means anyone in the county could do it. And then my classroom means only you could give it. So I'm going to pick shared so I can share this with anyone in the county. So here are our fonts. So maybe you don't like Arial. Maybe you'd rather have a Times New Roman. And this is for any item. We don't really have any passages in math. And let's say we want it bigger font. Some of these don't show up real nice. The next thing you're going to choose would be test settings. Now realize we're still going to go back and check those fonts in just a minute. So in test settings, we're going to scroll down to these accommodations. And if you want any of these chosen, you can. This is the main one that I do, text to speech. Notice here, you could do a Spanish version if you wanted to. If you wanted to create your test and then copy it and change it to read to Spanish. Just keep in mind that your students who speak Spanish and are taking the Math 3 exam, they do not get the test read aloud to them in Spanish. It is in English. So we're going to scroll down. Nothing else that you really have to worry about. If you want to look into those things, you can, but I'm going to go ahead and generate the test. There are all types of restrictions and settings that you can use. I just looked at those specific ones. So I'll give you a couple of hints here. This is going to show you all the test questions, and we're going to come back to this in just a second. But I want to go ahead and return to our test details, because we're going to go ahead and start the generate text to speech. This takes a little while, so I've learned from experience that it helps if you go ahead and click this before you start editing your questions. So now it's running. So I'm going to scroll down here and notice it says here that I have from GPE, and if I hover over it, it's going to tell me what that topic is, and I have 10 questions. So I'm going to start back at number 1, and I'm going to go to edit. And so these are some of the cool things that I've realized. Now, you can embed the DESMOS calculator into this, and the code should be given to you by your coach if you haven't already gotten it, but I'm just copying. Notice I'm copying from the less than symbol to the greater than symbol. So I'm just going to right click and copy that code. And now I'm going to go back to my test question. So I'm looking at number 1. And I just want to scroll through and look at number 1 and see if I like the size of the font. This looks okay. My picture looks okay. So the last thing I'm going to do to this question here is I'm going to click on this little embed code. And notice I'm already at the end right here. So all you have to do is Control V, and it puts the DESMOS calculator in, and click Save. So now when you look, your DESMOS calculator is in there. So now let's look at the answer choices. Some of you probably look at this and do not like the way this looks because it's so small. So if you click on it, you notice it's actually a picture. So I can change the font size to that, and let's make it say 18. So now it looks decent. I'm going to scroll down to the next one. I'm going to make it 18. The next one, click on the box to select the picture. Here's another one. This is in the explanation, I think, but I'm going to go ahead and click it anyway. And then here's the last picture. And looks like we're done. So now I'm going to go to number 2. Should start going a little faster. I like the size of this font. I think it's okay. Maybe you want it a little bigger. So I'm going to highlight it, and let's change it to 18. That's perfectly fine. Let's don't forget to embed. Remember, click the little embed code and just Control V and save. You can scroll down and see that your answers are okay. Let's go ahead and do number 3. The font looks okay to me. I'm going to embed, Control V, save. Answer choices are just coordinates. I'm going to number 4. Looks okay. Embed DESMOS, Control V. Answer choices look okay. We don't have any teeny pictures here. So here's where you're going to get angry whenever your students see this on your test. And so this is how we can fix it. Click on the picture of the numbers and then change the font size. Now that's huge. So let's go with this one. And I actually want to get this to the next. Just want to clean it up a little bit. All right, so it looks like this might be a picture. That might need to be a little bigger. Just kind of playing around a little bit. Going on to number 6. Oh, I'm going to go back to number 5. I forgot something. I forgot to embed the calculator. Control V. There's DESMOS. Number 6. There's a picture. You can see how it's smaller, so I'm going to change the font size to here. There's another picture. 18 usually works pretty well. I'm going to embed the calculator, Control V. And these are also pictures as well. So we'll change the font size. Click inside the box and then the picture itself of the answer. There it is. Let's change the font size. Again, change the font size. 6 is ready. 7. Here's another picture. Let's change the font size. I like the way it moved to the bottom here. Let's embed the calculator, Control V. Let's scroll down and see my answer choices. Look good. Number 8. Have a graph. Looks good. Let's embed the calculator, Control V. My answer choices, looks like I need to edit those. We'll go with 18. For all of my answer choices. So that's like all of number 8. Number 9. Here's another. Notice this is smaller, so I'm going to make it 18. You can do it 14 if you want. Embed the calculator. Your answer choices, looks like those need to be a little bigger. 14 actually looks fine for it for this one. Choice C. Scroll down to choice D. Done with that one. And number 10. Looks like that could be bigger. Maybe 14 works for that one. Let's embed the calculator. And then scroll down. We'll make these all 14 as well. So this does take a little bit of time. I can assure you it does not take as much time as capturing these in screenshots or retyping them in some kind of editor or anything. This is totally a lot easier. So that was number 10. So now I'm going to return to test details. And it's actually been saving, but it'll ask you to save again. And yes, obviously I want to save them again. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this text-to-speech while this is rolling. Notice some things on the page here. Here we have 10 items. Tells you how many items you have. Here is your test ID number. This is the number that you would need to use if you were going to look up the test yourself to see. If you want to edit the test name, that goes here. In just a second, we're going to finalize the test, but we are still waiting for this text-to-speech to generate. And the reason is we need to be able to generate the text-to-speech and then view the test in TestNav so that everything shows up and all the pictures are there and everything is ready to go. A couple other things while we're still waiting. If you click here on Downloads and Resources, this is an actual PDF of the test if you wanted to print it out. Or here is a PDF of the answer key if you needed, if you wanted a printed out copy of the answer key. You could open both of those up. So we're still here, see, waiting for the text-to-speech to be generated. I'm going to check here, still waiting. Item summaries. I'm noticing that all of them are showing the right standard. Test settings, text-to-speech is what we're waiting on here. You could edit some things here if you needed to. I think everything's ready to go for us. Just waiting for this text-to-speech. I would normally stop the video now because this is taking so long, but I do want you to see this finalized step. So if you wanted to fast forward here just a little bit until you get to the finalized test step, I would suggest that. Oh, great. It says text-to-speech content is ready. That's what we've been watching for. So here I'm going to click Preview Test, and I need to see it in TestNav. So this is your last step before we can finalize the test. It says there are 10 questions. Let's start. This is how the students see it, so we want to make sure that it looks okay. So notice here we have the circle, we have the graph, we have the question, and we have your DESMOS and then your 4 answer choices. So number 1 looks good. Number 2, notice how these tiny things that would have shown up real small before are now in a good shape. We have Desmos in your answer choices. Again, now this one, if you don't like the size, remember you can still go back and edit it. You can make yourself a note. Number 3 needs to be bigger, but I think that's fine. Desmos is there, yes. 4 checks out. 5, yes. You might not like that this is small and this is big if you want to go back and change that. I'm not that terribly picky at this point. Looks good. Desmos is there, looks good. This is number 8. Here's your equations, and they're blown up for you. Looks good. 10, good. So we've seen them all. We can exit it out. We're ready to go. So this is where we're going to finalize. Remember, this is the test ID number that you would need to find the test. Finalize, click OK, because it says once we schedule this, we can't change anything. So the good thing is the text-to-speech is done. If you forget to do text-to-speech before you finalize, you cannot do it anymore. You'd have to make a copy of the test. So I'm going to go to Schedule Test. Notice some of these details. Today is actually the 10th, so obviously we can't start it before today. I like to do my end date. Depends on how long you want it to be open, but I'm actually going to do it till the 31st of May for this one. Maybe even you could do June the 10th. That's fine. I'm going to scroll down. There are several different things here to look for. I'm going to do this. I like to change my codes to something that I would recognize. So M3, and this was GPE, and we're in year 22. That's totally up to you, and sometimes it gives you an error because the code's already been used. You could use the default one if you want to. This one, allow educators to link the test to Canvas. This has to be checked in order for you to link it through Canvas to put the grade into Canvas. This doesn't mean that you have to. This only means that you can if you choose. Now, if you remember back when we did the shared resource, shared classroom, if this had been a district benchmark, we do not check this for a district benchmark, because if we do and one person chooses to link it to Canvas, then it puts everybody into Canvas. So we choose not to do that for district benchmarks. Also, some folks like this, track and display student response times. So this, I could go on and watch the students taking it live. It'll also tell at the end in the results, how long did it take them to do each question, or how long did it take them to take the test. So that's a pretty cool thing. I normally don't time the test. If you want them to see their score as soon as they're finished, you can click that. I'm finished, and I'm going to go to Save and Publish, and it's okay. Notice that said this is not assigned. That's okay as long as it is a shared resource. You can share it with other people. So again, here's your code. Here is the code that the students use once they're in Schoolnet to take the test, or the code that you would use if you link it into Canvas. So hopefully this helps you. If you were searching for this test and you needed to change some things, you could click here and copy it. And then you could redo some of the questions or fix things if you needed to. So there you go. We've learned how to change the font and change the pictures, finalize, do your codes, text to speech, all that. I hope this helps whenever you're creating your Schoolnet test.